Colorado is seeing a remarkable turnaround in the fight against COVID-19. New numbers prove it. The governor faces uncomfortable questions about whether he'd take his family to a restaurant right now. A subpoena is sought to force the former governor to testify at his ethics hearing. This could lead to a game of hick and seek. The potential for awkward summer camp moments with mom and dad around. And am I wearing my mask wrong? That would be embarrassing. But this is next. We begin tonight with a report of shots fired near the state capitol at the same time that there is a large protest march going on right now in Denver to protest the killing of George Floyd. He was the black man who begged for his life as his neck was pinned to the ground by the knee of a white police officer in Minneapolis. Denver police say that they did in fact get a report of shots fired near the Capitol, but they don't believe that anybody was injured. In fact, they haven't even been able to confirm for us that it actually was gunfire near the Capitol. There is a protest that's split into two groups. There's that group that's blocking traffic near the state capitol. There's another group that split off and marched down the 16th Street Mall. Democratic State Representative Leslie Herod of Denver tweeted that they had been shot at. Again, that's not something that Denver police are confirming at this point. DPD simply saying that they received a call of shots fired. We have seen protests across the country of varying intensities since the killing in Minneapolis on Monday. We'll continue to follow this situation at the Capitol, where there's peaceful protests, the situation where folks are marching through the streets, and if we learn anything more about that concerning report of shots fired, we will get that to you right here on Next. Denver police came out and said today of the incident in Minneapolis that the type of force that's seen on that video that has since gone viral, DPD called it inexcusable and contrary to how we train our officers. DPD mentioned its revised use of force policy that department implemented last year. So first, Colorado flattened the COVID-19 curve. Now we have stomped it into the ground. New COVID-19 hospitalizations in our state were in the single digits earlier this week. At last count, there were 335 coronavirus patients still in hospitals. But even more impressive, on Tuesday, only 7 new patients were admitted into hospitals statewide. 7 people statewide. Back in April, we were seeing as many as 200 new admissions a day. So that is really encouraging news. We celebrate that good news because we know that Coloradans are continuing to be cautious and smart. I mean, yeah, there are a few people that are running around town licking doorknobs, but most people seem to be assessing their own health, their own risk, and then making informed decisions. Not always easy calls, and not always easy to talk about publicly for fear that you might be judged by somebody. Governor Jared Polis was asked today if he would take his own family to a restaurant right now. He did not directly answer the question from Jesse Paul, the Colorado Sun. So Jesse, like any good reporter, asked the governor again.
I think there's some Coloradans that are ready to go out physically to a restaurant, and there's others that aren't. I know there's other Coloradans that just want to make sure that we have the very best potential security measures in place around distancing and masks, and that they're willing to return to that part of their life. So, haven't made any decisions on that. Our daughter's in a small day camp. Our son is not. Our parents are staying home. And we'll see whether the first time we go out is in June or in July. I'm confident that at some point we'll look forward to taking the family out to a restaurant with the kids.
That sounds like a no for now from the Polis family. People got the message to stay away from hospitals during the peak of the virus in Colorado. They have not gotten the message that it's okay to come back to hospitals. Our Ryan Harris shows us the terrible outcomes that's creating for patients and for the hospitals themselves.
Our initial numbers were down some 40%.
Dr. Ben Usach says that's true of emergency room visits across the country during this pandemic. He's medical director of the emergency department at UC Health Highlands Ranch.
And I've never seen so many perforated appendicitis, patients with bad gallbladder disease. I've really got great fear that come down the line where you're going to be having new diagnoses of cancer just because people have just been staying out of the hospital when they really need to come in.
USECH says fear of catching the virus at a hospital is unwarranted, as these centers have gone to great lengths to separate COVID-19 patients and deep clean facilities.
It's always been safe. It's even more safe now.
It's also a good time to get in those elective surgeries now that they're allowed. The state had paused those procedures to prevent overwhelming hospitals.
After the federal subsidies, we believe the financial impact to Colorado hospitals is around maybe $3.1 billion on an annual basis.
Julie Lawnborg is Senior Vice President of the Colorado Hospital Association. While some elective surgeries that pay many bills have begun, it's not as simple as flipping a switch. Hospitals have to remain prepared for additional COVID-19 waves and the subsequent financial impacts.
As we continue to watch the progress of the virus, hopefully we move toward being able to return to additional volumes.
No Colorado hospitals have been forced to close, but this is far from over. Bottom line, get in those surgeries while COVID hospitalization rates are low. And most importantly, don't ignore that chest or abdominal pain.
These are all very time sensitive, where minutes and seconds matter.
For Next, I'm Ryan Harrer.
Republicans are trying to get a subpoena to force former Governor John Hickenlooper to testify at his ethics hearing next week. Hickenlooper is refusing to show up. Colorado's Independent Ethics Commission told Hickenlooper that he cannot get out of testifying by just sending in written answers. Hickenlooper is currently in the middle of the Democratic Senate primary. So he's told he must appear next Thursday by remote video, since his team and the GOP-tied group that accuses him of taking illegal gifts couldn't agree on an in-person date for August. Hickenlooper says a video hearing violates his right to due process. The other side's seeking to subpoena him. That's a short turnaround to serve it on him by Thursday. I asked Hickenlooper's campaign manager if Hickenlooper would hide out in his house to avoid being served the subpoena next week. She repeatedly would not answer my question. Our next question tonight comes from, well, me. The question is from me. So I try to follow the latest public health advice on masks, but I don't know. I mean, if I'm out for a bike ride or for a walk, I usually just kind of have the mask around my neck, and then if I get near other people, if I'm not able to give them space, you pull up the mask. Our Marshall Zellinger had the same question about whether that's the right way to do business, and Marshall found the answer.
Let's face it, our faces get hot wearing masks. So what's a good distance away from someone else that it's safe to have your mask around your neck, and when should you pull it back up?
It's a complicated answer, that there's no one answer.
You didn't think this was going to be an easy story, did you? Dr. Shelley Miller is a professor of mechanical engineering at CU Boulder. She knows air pollution.
Whether we're talking about emissions from a car or emissions from an infected person, the aerosol coming out of your mouth gets quickly diluted by wind and movement in the atmosphere.
Governor Jared Polis has a couple of Facebook posts dealing with emissions, spittle, or what Next is calling Patriot particles. On the left, someone talking, breathing, and coughing without a mask. The plume is what's polluting your air when you pass someone without a mask while walking at the park or running on the trail.
If you're offset from a person and not directly in the line of their potential plume of exhaled air, that's better. So don't run behind somebody or walk behind somebody that's close.
Now to the magic question. When can I take my mask down for others to be safe? A complicated answer because of wind, how infectious someone is, and how long the exposure will last.
It's a tough one, but I'd probably say 20, 30 feet. You know, give yourself some space, but you don't have to go a half a mile.
And now, with dining out an option around people who won't be wearing masks when they eat, should you have yours on in between bites? This post from the governor's Facebook page today shows an image from the American Association for the Advancement of Science. Patriot particles proliferating from an asymptomatic person talking without a mask compared to with one on.
It seems reasonable to have your mask on when you're close enough to people that it's possible for their talking plume to reach you. That's when I would have my mask on.
This is the mask I wear for when I run, and I'm keeping it up now because my dog's breath is pretty bad. No, I'm going to bring it down. Dr. Miller told me she's actually comfortable not wearing a mask when she's walking around her neighborhood with her dog because she can get to the other side of the street. And with being outside in the atmosphere and the wind, it will dilute the Patriot particles. Kyle, when she got a haircut last week, though, she told me, she said, "Thanks for the cut," to the stylist. "Thanks for the cut. Keep your mouth shut. No talking."
It's kind of reassuring to know that if you just apply a little bit of common sense, that's helpful. And I mean, and there's another reason to pull that mask up when you're near other folks, and that's just to reassure them that, I don't know, that you care the slightest bit about their health and safety, you know?
And my wife has created a good method for me with some hair ties on this running buff, and it's just as simple as that. It stays up, not too hard, up and down.
I liked it. That's a good, strong look. Thank you, Marshall.
A retail employee who watches next would like to have a word with the state senator who proudly proclaimed that she doesn't follow public health guidelines in stores. Summer camp's going to be different this year. The parents by the campfire, for one thing.
We'll see if I can fall off a horse as well as I could when I was 9.
Breaking tradition, and perhaps Dad's ankle. Summer Camp 2020, next.
Denver police tell us that, in fact, they believe that 6 to 7 shots were fired in the area of the Capitol, not far from where a rally protesting the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis was happening around the same time. It's about 5:35 this afternoon as 2 different protest crowds marched through downtown Denver. DPD telling us that they believe that shots were fired in that area. We have no indication that there were injuries. You're watching live pictures from Sky 9 as one of the 2 crowds continues to march southbound on Lincoln in the area of 13th, still on the move through traffic. If you're in the downtown area, you are likely to see those crowds, and that's what you're seeing, folks who are out protesting the killing of George Floyd by police officers in Minneapolis earlier this week. We're getting some feedback tonight from Colorado's frontline employees in response to Republican State Senator Vicki Marble's comments flaunting public health rules, saying that she refuses to wear a mask at Walmart, proudly just pushes shoulder to shoulder with customers and employees. A man named Wid wrote in to say that he is one such employee at a Home Depot. He gets to deal with customers like Senator Vicki Marble, and he asked that she consider his point of view.
I was angered about the incident at the state capitol yesterday concerning Vicki Marble. I am appalled that there are callous people in the world who tout their personal freedom rights during this time and ridicule at-risk people. I pity the workers at Walmart where she shops. I, too, am a 72-year-old at-risk man who, because of health care costs, finds it necessary to work in an essential retail business. Day in and day out, I see nasty, self-centered personal rights people come into our big box hardware store and take their venom out on me and my coworkers. From foul language to threats and even spitting and sneezing on us, we are being abused by the Vicki Marbles of Colorado. We did not ask for COVID to come visit us, but we are there day in and day out trying to help others stay afloat and keep their businesses going. We are beginning to wear down. Every day I see more signs of PTSD creeping into my coworkers' lives. We are stressed to the max at times. We are tired of self-centered people who think the only reason we exist is to serve them. We are not. We are pleading for some compassion, however. For every 3 8-hour days I work, it takes me at least 2 full days to detoxify. I hope that Vicki Marble has a time in her life when she realizes that we are all in this together and that we all need to help each other.
The woman accused of planning an armed child kidnapping raid with help from QAnon conspiracy theorists is trying to get out of jail by disavowing QAnon. A judge in Douglas County did not buy it, kept Cynthia Absug's bond at a whopping $250,000. The judge pointed to records showing that Absug had been in contact with QAnon conspiracy theorists, even traveling out of state with them in order to avoid being arrested on the charges that she planned to work with QAnon to kidnap her non-custodial son out of the foster care system. QAnon, again, for those of you who don't dwell in that corner of the internet, is a conspiracy that thinks that President Trump is fighting a secret war against blood-drinking satanic pedophiles in the Democratic Party, Hollywood, and Child Protective Services.
The kids are headed to summer camp, but everything's weird this year. So, parents, you come too.
We've got the little kids, big kids, the adult kids all here. So we think it's going to be good.
Kind of sounds like next audience and the next team.
Kids' day camps and sports camps can reopen Monday with social distancing restrictions. And it's bad news for the kids looking to escape their parents by going to the Colorado Mountain Ranch north of Boulder, because this year, parents come to camp too.
So today it's really quiet and empty. Today was the day that our 50 staff for the 2020 season were actually supposed to be arriving. And today it's just bluebirds and sunshine. There's usually between 150 to 200 kids here on any given day. We have generations of kids coming back here every year, you know, families.
Yeah, I think I might have been the first of the family to be there. I was there when I was in 4th grade.
And I think I was there for 3 or 4 years working. And then we had Lucy.
And I've been going there for like 7 or 8 years now.
The parents are saying, what do we do with our kids? What do we do this summer? What, you know, what's it going to look like?
Yeah, I think my first reaction was being scared for camp. Like, that's missing a summer for a camp is kind of a big deal.
So what we're doing is we're doing family summer camp. So as a family, you can come up here and enjoy and experience our activities. So your Safer at Home pod or your quarantine. So the way we've actually put this together is you book an exclusive time slot for your Safer at Home family pod, and then we're offering 4 activities at each time slot.
And I think it's a great plan, and it's different, but almost everything in our world is different than it was, 3 months ago.
Usually the adults just drop their kids at camp, head off to work, and now we've got the little kids, big kids, the adult kids all here. So we think it's going to be good. We think it's going to be real good.
Yeah, we'll see if I can fall off a horse as well as I could when I was 9.
Go, honey, go.
Summer camp through the lens of our photojournalist Foster Gaines. An update on that situation with shots fired near a protest at the Capitol next. Going to give you a look from Lincoln and 10th live right now. This is the protest which has been circling downtown Denver. Denver police say that 6 or 7 shots were fired near the state capitol. They're unsure whether it was connected to the protest. Democratic State Rep Leslie Herod, who is in the protest crowd, says she believes that it was. Told our Marshall Zellinger that the shots came from the area of the RTD bus stop there across from the Capitol. Colorado State troopers told her to get down, and she ran inside the Capitol area. Again, no one was injured as shots were fired at the same time that this rally to protest the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis was going on in Denver. Anonymous note tonight comes into feedback about this protest, saying we are creating an issue where it does not exist. Actions of a few bad law enforcement officers 1,000 miles away doesn't warrant a helicopter hovering over 75 people in Denver. I would say this, Anonymous, I don't think they're concerned about being killed by those bad apples. Probably the next ones, or the next ones after that, or after that.